Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream news summary from Moscow program. Today is 16th of 16th of September. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to, and I hope you will find news update informative and interesting. And if so, dear friends, please like the video. For quite a while my videos did not reach 500 likes, although in the past this was a quite regular occasion, even 1,000 likes. So if you can, please like the video. It might just help to deal with the extremely aggressive algorithm. And if you are watching this video after live stream, then please leave some commentary about any topic you find interesting. Just tell me hi. Uh, that will count for a comment too, and will help. That's been said, dear friends. After our news segment, as always, I will join community chat for 10-15 minutes. So if you have a question or if you want to highlight any topic, please use capital letters in the comments, or capital Q at least, so that I will spot it little easier in the chat. And also let me highlight that yesterday on Patreon, new member joined our community, new old member, Vladislav Pelicheker. He was a member of community, then left for a little while, and yesterday he joined again. So thank you for joining our Patreon community. And dear friends, if you want to support my work, one of the best ways to do so is to subscribe to my Patreon page, where I have some extra content on quite regular basis as exclusive content. A link is on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also on Rumble, dear friends, where my channel is monetized, you can use super chat feature if you want to make sure that I would not miss your question or the commentary. And if you want to support, if you want to donate simultaneously. That's been said, let's go through some news. And as I said, quite a lot is happening, quite a lot to unpack. And I want to start with this breaking news, to which I will come back later on in the program. But if you have not heard yet, let me share with you this report that the UN Commission recognizes Israeli actions in Gaza as a genocide. So UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory has recognized Israel's actions in Gaza as genocide. We have a quote from the statement. The commission found that Israeli authorities have partially destroyed the reproductive capacity of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip as a group, including by imposing measures aimed at preventing birth, and have deliberately created the living conditions calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the Palestinians as a group, which are the core acts of genocide in the Rome Statute and the Convention on the Prevention of Punishment of the Crimes of Genocide. It's a genocide convention. The report said the main findings of the report: Israel continues to commit genocide in the Gaza Strip. Its actions against the population are the most merciless since 1948. The country's military and political leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, encouraged it. Tel Aviv is responsible for failing to prevent the genocide against their enclave inhabitants. Countries are obligated to use all instruments to stop their IDF's actions in Gaza and occupied territory. At the same time, the Israeli Foreign Ministry rejected the UN report, saying that it was based on Hamas lies. The ministry also called for the dissolution of the International Commission. Well, I don't think this information from UN, this recognition of the actions of the Israel as a genocide from UN Commission will have much influence on Israeli regime, on Israeli actions. But nevertheless, world community has said its word, because this is UN is talking about, right? And we don't really have any better representative of this world than UN is, no matter how incapable this organization has become in past decades, basically. So this is, I will say, breaking news, of course, and I will come back to this topic later on in the program. And now let's continue with some other news. RIA Novosti is reporting that air defense systems on duty of the Russian Federation intercepted 87 drones that was launched by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO countries to strike deep into Russian territory. Let me give you some specifics on that. So during the past night, from 2300 hours or 11 p.m. yesterday up to 6 o'clock this morning, air defense systems on duty destroyed and intercepted 87 aircraft type unmanned aerial vehicles, report says. To be more precise, in the Kursk region, 30 drones were intercepted. In Stavropol Krai, 18 drones. In Rostov region, 11. Bryansk, 10. Tula, 5. Ryazan, 4. Crimea, 3. In the Volgograd and Voronezh regions, 2 each. In Nizhny Novgorod and over the Black Sea, 1 each. So unfortunately, quite a vast geography of these NATO strikes. Basically, that's what this is, because without NATO providing flight path and the targeting data to these drones, they would not be able to fly in any directions. They need a flight path, right? And this data is provided by NATO countries, unfortunately, by US and UK, first of all. So it is a NATO strike, and unfortunately, geography is still quite vast. Air defense systems on duty, best ones in the world, by the way, that Russia has. Of course, intercepting vast majority of drones, but unfortunately, time to time, some of the drones are managing to bypass air defense systems, get through, and tragically, quite often, these drones are striking civilian areas, residential buildings, and I have shown many videos of consequences of that. To continue, dear friends, TASS news agency is reporting that more than 100 Russian residents injured in Ukrainian airstrikes in the past week. Yet again, as I said, unfortunately, time to time, these aerial vehicles, drones, missiles that Kiev regime and NATO are launching to strike deep into Russia, managing to bypass air defense systems, and usually they are targeting civilian areas. I don't think you're going to hear on any Western media outlets reports about it. And we're definitely not going to hear that last week alone, more than 100 Russian civilians were injured. And there were deaths also. Over the 100 civilians from Russian regions, including 4 children, were injured in strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces over the past week. The 7 people were killed. As an ambassador at large of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Rodion Miroshnik, told that thus 85% of the injured civilians were victims of Ukrainian drone strikes. So you tell me, dear friends, if you have heard anything about Russian civilians being hurt as a result of these Ukrainian, NATO strikes on Russian territory. I'm quite sure you never ever heard anything, right, on this matter. Which is unfortunate, but you know that you don't have a media in the West, right? You just know that you don't have a media in the West because they are not reporting the truth. Also, dear friends, Russian armed forces, of course, conducting retaliatory strikes on this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. And this morning, I did share this report on my Telegram and Twitter X page that drone strikes on gas distribution infrastructure of the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky was conducted in the Sumy region. You can saw a video of this strike, by the way, and also a number of sources reported that last night Russian military strikes were carried out on military and logistical infrastructure of the enemy in Chernigov, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye, a number of other directions as well, and also in Kiev, by the way. And I did share some of the video footage of those strikes and the consequences of that. TASS news agency is also reporting that Russian armed forces liberated Olgovskaya settlement in Zaporozhye region. Information is confirmed by Russian Defense Ministry, and a number of military experts are now basically claiming that Russian militaries began a sectoral scale offensive operation in Zaporozhye region. I'm no military expert, so I don't have a strong opinion on the matter, but Russian troops are advancing all along the front line and liberating more and more settlements in all sectors: Zaporozhye sector, DPR, Dnipropetrovsk region, Kharkov region, Sumy region. So I would not be surprised at all if these claims of number of military experts are true, actually, and Russian troops liberated Olgoskaya settlement, not just liberated Olgoskaya settlement, but also conducting or preparing launch of sectoral scale offensive operations. And due to successful operations of the Russian armed forces, Kiev regime is becoming more and more desperate, of course, and their Western backers, and out of desperation and hysteria, I guess, they are beginning to fight, in between, right, each other, and they are beginning to blame for losses on position and the manpower on each other. And for example, on this very topic, we have this report that head of Kiev regime's so-called general staff, Syrsky, dismissed the commanders of 17th and the 20th Corps, Vladimir Silenko and Maxim Kitugin, from their positions due to losses of positions at the front. This was reported by publication Ukrainian Pravda, citing sources in their Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. So this information is confirmed even by Kiev regime's propaganda outlets. So this infight will only escalate on Kiev controlled territory, of course, because Russian troops are not intended to slow down their local or sectoral scale offensive operations. Exactly opposite is going to happen. And as I said, number of experts expecting sectoral scale Russian offensive in Zaporozhye region. Maybe, I don't know. Also, dear friends, excuse me, I already mentioned that Russian troops are advancing quite successfully in the Dnipropetrovsk region too. About 10 settlements, if not more by this time, already been liberated, and the Kiev regime is beginning to conduct mandatory evacuations from the Dnipropetrovsk region. We have this report that a forced evacuation of families with the children has been announced in 18 settlements of the Sinyalinsky district in the Dnipropetrovsk region of Ukraine. The Ukrainian publication Strana UA reports citing the regional military administration. We have a quote from this report. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, the zone of forced evacuation of families with children has been expanded to 18 more settlements in the Sinelkovsky district. Local authorities, military authorities of Kiev regime report. It is specified that they are talking about the villages of Pokrovskoye and their neighboring settlements, Andreevka, Bogodarovka, Bratskaya, Atradnaya, Volnaya, Vadyanaya, Gai, Добропасовая, Livadnaya, Novoalexandrovka, Novoskelevatove, Alexandrovka, Atrishki, Pisansky, Skotovataya, Stara Konstantinovskaya, Chernenkova. So that's the settlements that evacuations are happening, and well, this is good. At least Kiev regime is conducting these evacuations, and people that want to leave will have such opportunity. Hopefully, they've been provided with their transporter, and there can be no doubts that while evacuation is happening, Russian militaries will not conduct no strikes on concentrations of their. Not just the Russian troops never conduct strikes, intentional strikes on concentration of civilians, but Russian troops probably will maintain certain pause from strikes on Kiev regime's forces, even that might be involved in evacuation of the civilians. But quite often, dear friends, you know that locals are preferring to stay in their homes, because they are waiting for Russian troops. By the way, they are waiting for liberators, and even Western media outlets on occasions were forced to admit, indirectly at least. You remember there was reports relatively recently, by the way, from in one of the Western media outlets, Italian or Spanish, when members of neo-Nazi formations of the Kiev regime were complaining that locals are not leaving, they are waiting for Russians to come, right? And the locals actually providing Russian side with their intelligence information. So they were complaining, right, that many people are deciding to stay because they are Russians, rather. They are Russians. They're not being brainwashed by Western propaganda or the propaganda of this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky and whatever was before that, right? So they want to stay, and they are waiting for Russian liberators. It's a risky stuff, of course, because it's a high-intensity conflict, and they should if they will decide to stay, they should take all possible measures of safety, for sure. And until Russian troops will arrive, they're gonna have some hard time, by the way. Once Russians are there, they are safe and free. But until then, they have to be tremendously cautious, because it's a line of contact, by the way. And maybe it would be even better if they will, no matter how much they want to be liberated by Russian forces, for their safety, it will be, of course, better if they will evacuate, and then will, after settlements are liberated, then they will come back to their homes. Also, dear friends, let me give you this report from RIA Novosti, that this story with the drones that happened recently in Poland is not going away, not yet. It seems like. Of course, I shared my take on that situation, what was happening. I'm quite sure British secret services, with assistance of Polish secret services, their proxy Kiev regime, and potentially some other NATO member states, were preparing false flag operation. They were waiting for a relatively large-scale Russian drone launches, and they pre-positioned basically the radio electronic warfare system to influence some of the Russian drones, divert them towards the Polish border, and they did manage to do it, as far as I can tell, successfully. Some of the drones were diverted towards the Poland, and once those drones crossed the border, these Western secret services that were behind this false flag attack took drones that they already had in their hands. Some of them could be Russians that Russia used against Kiev regime's military and logistical infrastructure, but due to technical issues or something failed and did not explode or did not get smashed completely, these drones were reassembled, and that's why you can see tapes on these freaking drones that I shared photos of, for example, right? Those drones were reassembled, and then when NATO managed to successfully divert a couple of actual Russian drones towards the Poland, they took these pre-planned drones and put them in certain positions. Some of them were put some 300 kilometers away from Polish-Ukrainian border, by the way, and that's why Russian Defense Ministry kind of trolled NATO so-called specialists that these drones have no freaking range to reach that far, right? And Russian side was very clear that Russian militaries have no orders or their intention to strike anything on the Polish territory. That was Russian commentary, isn't it? And so, yes, that's what had happened, by the way. British secret services, with their alliance with some others, Polish and Kiev regime and so on. Once some of the Russian drones were actually diverted, they took these drones that they prepared, put in some places. It was looking quite comedic, right? Because I shared some pictures, by the way, when drones, while sort of landing, did not broke in pieces, did not smash their grass on the fields when they landed on the field, by the way, right? There is no trace that these drones smashed anywhere. And I saw some of the pictures, by the way, when drone landed, sort of, if it was a vertical takeoff and landing drone, landed literally without damaging anything on a roof of some freaking construction. And behind this drone was trees that was not damaged, nothing. So it was a very poorly orchestrated operation, but nevertheless, globalist control regimes in Europe are using now this false flag operation to go ahead with their deployment of additional military equipment, additional manpower to the borders of the Russian Federation and the Belarus. And most importantly, they are deploying more and more Air Force. And I have explained why Air Force is especially important, because you know my take on this on further development in this proxy war that West is waging against Russia. I'm quite sure West will launch in short time, relatively short time. I think next phase of escalation with Russia, with the massive launches of the drones and the cruise missiles, long-range cruise missiles, and Kyiv regime just have no enough planes to launch dozens and dozens and dozens of cruise missiles simultaneously. So they will need assistance from NATO Air Force, right? And that's why this false flag operation with the drones were used by globalist control regimes in Europe to deploy their Air Force. And I will give you some additional information on that. And that Air Force of NATO will participate in these launches of the cruise missiles to strike deep into Russian territory. They will try to make a claim that they did not participate. It was all Kyiv regime, but they're not gonna fool nobody, right? I'm afraid the next phase of escalation is going to be on such a scale that Moscow will retaliate and retaliate with the force, right? On a scale that will force globalists shortly after that to actually come to their senses, face the reality and capitulate. But there is some time to go until that moment. But nevertheless, topic of drones is not going away, as I said. And the Prime Minister of Poland, Tusk, announced that there was another drone that was neutralized over the Warsaw. Some also crazy story here. A drone has been diffused over government buildings in Warsaw. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on the platform X yesterday late evening this happened. The State Security Service has just neutralized a drone that was flying over government building on Parkovaya and Pavlederskaya streets. 2 Belarusian citizens have been detained, he wrote. According to him, the police are investigating their situation. And so, by the way, either this is some low-level provocation of the Kyiv regime. Number of citizens of Belarus, by the way, were indoctrinated in all sorts of crazy ideology by globalists, by Western propaganda. Number of those individuals, majority of them, are outside of Belarus, in the Baltic states, in Poland, quite a big number of them, right? I remind you that Poland was playing key role. Polish Secret Services and their citizens of Belarus that they recruited did play key role during an attempt of regime change in Belarus that took place several years ago. So, and the number of these citizens of Belarus actually were recruited by Kyiv regime and had participated in military hostilities against Russia. So, Kyiv regime in its hands has a number of citizens of Belarus that were capable of operating with the drones, right? Potentially with ones that even have a battle experience. And I guess Kyiv regime's so-called secret services try to further intensify, escalate situation around this topic of drones. And they told their Belarusian assets to use some FPVs. Most likely it was FPV, by the way. Details not yet are known, at least not yet been reported. Probably it was FPV drone. They were circling with this drone over the government buildings. And probably they did not expect to be arrested. But, they got caught. And let's see what police in Warsaw are going to say. Would they accuse the Kyiv regime of being involved in this provocation? I don't think so. Probably this story will just die down. Therefore, right? Anyways, something to just keep in mind. Also, dear friends, Glad newspaper is reporting that Spain, Italy, UK, and Sweden join Operation Eastern Guardian. Well, I mean, UK, Sweden, historical enemies of Russia. Italy, somewhat historical enemy of Russia, partially at least. But Spain, I mean, what the hell? What the hell, Spain? Don't Spanish leadership have anything else to do but to position its country as an enemy of Russia? What the hell? But anyways, Spain, Italy, Britain, and Sweden have expressed their intention to join NATO's Eastern Guard initiative to strengthen defense on their eastern flank following a drone incident in Poland. Their imminent accession of Spain, Italy, Britain, and Sweden to NATO's Eastern Guard initiative is stated in the statement published on Alliance's website. Excuse me. It is noted that the operation involves strengthening the defensive measures of NATO's eastern flank after incidents with the unmanned aerial vehicles in Poland. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte announced the launch of Operation Eastern Guard and said that four German Eurofighters were ready to provide assistance at an airbase in northeastern Poland, while three Czech helicopters had already arrived in the country on September 14. The document also noted that Denmark would provide fighter jets also and air defense frigate, while air defense systems, while Spain and Britain would soon announce their support. Italy and Sweden have also expressed their readiness to provide assistance, and their key point here is aircrafts. By the way, NATO is deploying more and more aircrafts. We had earlier in previous days, and I report about it, statements, publications, and statements from the West that France is deploying Rafale fighter jets. That's what officially is known, but they might deploy some older fighter jets too, like Mirage 2000s, for example, if they still operate with them, right? Also, except Gerbera type, for example, Gerbera type decoys. This Gerbera drone, this decoy will cost I don't know 20 times more than this drone itself. So this is clearly a false narrative that they are using. If they were actually thinking that there are some serious they will deploy radio electronic warfare. They will focus on radio electronic warfare and their drone interceptors, not the fighter jets, but they are specialized drones, right, that build to intercept other drones. But deployment of planes, that definitely is not logical, right? Something else is going on there. But nevertheless, let me give you this report. The UK will deploy Eurofighter Typhoon jets to patrol Polish airspace after Warsaw accused Russia of a large-scale drone intrusion. Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced on Monday the jets will join French Rafales, German Eurofighters, and Danish F-16s. And I said, dear friends, there is a Dutch F-35s also in Poland. Spain just joined this operation against Russia, and Spain will provide probably either F-18s that Spain, I believe, has, or something else, planes that are capable of launching cruise missiles, basically, because that's the idea behind all this operation. So the jets will join French Rafales. And by the way, we should keep in mind that Poland itself has hundreds of planes, from which at least dozens of planes are fully operational, right? So jets will join French Rafales, German Eurofighters, and Danish F-16s in the coming days as a part of NATO's Eastern Century operation. The UK government said operating from Coningsby Air Base in eastern England and are supported by Voyager air-to-air refueling tankers, they will monitor aerial threats from the Russia, including drones. According to statement, these aircraft are not just a show of strength, they are vital in deterring aggression. Summer said, accusing Russia of reckless behavior on the alliance's eastern flank. I mean, if anyone is behaving recklessly, it's a globalist and globalist control regimes in Europe, including in UK. We all know that, but nevertheless, this increasing uh, their battle group when it comes to number of the planes, right? To put it mild and simply, they are increasing number of planes that they can use for whatever purpose, right? Rafales, Typhoons, or F-16s, and whatever else. Sweden might come up with their sub planes, right? All these planes are capable of launching cruise missiles, dear friends. And as I said, I'm quite sure NATO is preparing next phase of absolutely unprecedented scale of escalation with Russia. That will start with their that will unbelievable, man. Am I back? Again, man. Again, these are issues with some technical issues. It's a StreamYard. This time it's a StreamYard, by the way. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's a freaking StreamYard that is doing this stuff. I don't know when I went off, how long I was off. Couple of minutes. My apologies, dear friends, for this technical issue. Unfortunately, I cannot do much about it. I'm trying hard to make sure that our stream is working okay, but time to time there is always some issues with that. But so yes, I was talking about deployment of increase in numbers of fighter jets that NATO has on the borders with Russia and Belarus, and I was talking about what their intent is, and the intent is to prepare the ground for unprecedented scale of escalation with Russia. And I did spoke about this matter for quite a few times before and a few minutes ago too, but I was offline. I didn't even knew that. Anyways, let me continue with some other news so that I would not have to repeat myself. Well, I read yesterday. I did stated that I did share the information that Polish President Nawrocki signed the official resolution to allow deployment of NATO troops on the Polish territory, and Polish Foreign Minister also went to demand the no-fly zone to be introduced over there to control their territory. And on that, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and current deputy chairman of the Security Council stated that if NATO will go ahead with some no-fly zone and with whatever provocations, they might actually provoke direct war, open war between NATO and Russia, and they should keep that in mind. Also, I want to share with you this report, dear friends, that according to TASS news agency, there is no point in talking about the Russia-Ukraine-US summit at this point until the Kiev regime makes a reasonable response to the Russian side's proposals. It is too early to talk about holding a summit in a format of an international meeting between Russia, Ukraine, and United States. This was stated to TASS by Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. He noted that Russian President Vladimir Putin has previously said in detail everything that was required in terms of contacts with Zelensky. If there is no healthy, sober, reasonable response to these signals of ours, then there are even less grounds to talk about some kind of trilateral format. Ryabkov emphasized answering corresponding questions. So yes, there are going to be no bilateral or trilateral meetings between Putin and Zelensky, or Putin, Zelensky, and Trump, and this is quite understandable. By the way, such a meeting was never actually meant to happen, take place, and Trump is, and will be engaged in a deception operation against Russia. That's what it was all about. Trump is engaged in deception operation against Russia, and I think Moscow knows that. And this statement of Ryabkov, high-ranking Russian diplomat, can be seen as an indicator that no one gonna fool us no more. We had our lessons with the Minsk I agreement, Minsk II agreement, with the topic of NATO enlargement, with the topic of avoiding regime change in 2014 in Kiev. There were many other so-called agreements that Western elites never honored. So therefore, Moscow knows perfectly well that nobody from collective West or elites of the collective West can be trusted now or in a foreseeable future, until societies of the Western countries will reclaim their countries, their destiny, right, and will put some adequate people in the position of elites or the power. It's just too obvious. And on the matter of how dishonest Western elites are, I want to share with you this report, dear friends, that Macron, according to Professor Jeffrey Sachs, admitted that NATO is behind Ukraine conflict. In private, he's saying it openly. We know this, of course, but it is interesting that in private conversation, they are talking about it as if this is nothing, no big deal. That's how emboldened these morons are with impunity, because they are coming up with all sorts of provocations. They are doing whatever they want, ruining lives of millions of people in their countries and elsewhere, and they are doing this with their complete impunity. So therefore, they are not even trying no more, at least hard enough to hide their intent. So French President Emmanuel Macron has privately admitted that NATO is the driver force behind the Ukraine conflict. prominent American economist Jeffrey Sachs has stated Macron, along with their other Western leaders, has repeatedly claimed that Russia launched its military operation against Ukraine in 2022 without provocation, and has insisted that Moscow is solely responsible for the conflict. However, speaking during the foreign policy debate with their Italian daily Il Fatto Quotidiano, Sachs recalled that when Macron awarded him the Legion of Honor in May 2022, the French leader privately told him exactly the opposite of what he says publicly, and admitted that NATO was causing this war. And we have a quote here: "I just want everyone to know this," Sachs said, adding that he is disgusted by the French president. Sachs further condemned Western European leaders, describing them as warmongers who just want to go to war. So we know, by the way, we knew it, that this was a proxy war that NATO is waging against Russia. I mean, the vast majority of our community never ever had any doubts about it. I mean, it was very clear, right? Everyone who actually pays attention to information and tries to find the truth, all of them knew this is a proxy war against Russia. And after all, on several occasions, even publicly, NATO officials or officials from the NATO member states have admitted that, yes, this is a proxy war. For example, former Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, said it publicly, isn't it? That this is our proxy war. And number of other elements. But nevertheless, it is important, I think, that these prominent figures, well-respected worldwide prominent figures like Jeffrey Sachs, they are raising voice and informing public worldwide what is actually going on and combating this propaganda of their Western so-called elites. Or evil force, by the way. That's what they are. Complete evil force. That's it, man. And I'm talking about Western elites, of course. Globalists, neocons, Zionists, all of them, by the way. It's a united evil force that are existential threat for all of humanity. I have no doubts about that. And, well, dear friends, before I continue, well, unfortunately, quite a few people are on our, on this stream on YouTube right now. Only 118 at this point, which is unfortunate. But nevertheless, many thanks to all of you, dear friends, for taking your time and joining this stream. Hopefully, until now, you did find new segment interesting, informative. And before I continue, let me just highlight that this project only exists, as many of you know, only as long as I have your assistance, dear friends. And if you like my work, if you want to support, best way to do this is to subscribe to my Patreon page, dear friends, or if you don't like Patreon for whatever reason, to subscribe to my Boosty page. It's a monthly support. And starts from monthly subscription and starts from $5, and then it's up to you what level you can on what level you can support. But if none of them is if you cannot subscribe to my Patreon or Boosty pages, then you can, if you want to, of course, you can donate through PayPal and Boosty platforms, and during the streams you can use the super chat feature or round feature on Rumble and donate through that, or become a premium subscriber on Rumble. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. That's been said, dear friends. I already mentioned, isn't it, that Vladislav Pelecek rejoined our Patreon community, and many thanks to you, Vladislav. I know you had some questions, and unfortunately, during the preparations of this program, I lacked time. I was rushing, and I did not make screenshots, but I will react on your comments and questions, and also Scooby, I believe, also had a question, and I will react on that in tomorrow's live stream, dear friends. So I did not forget nothing. And anybody who is subscribed on Patreon can send a private message question in a private messaging, by the way, to make sure that I would not miss it. And I will react on the question during the stream. And same goes for Boosty. Okay, all the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. Hopefully, more members from our bigger community on YouTube and Rumble will join us on a Patreon. And okay, enough for a little pause because live streams are quite long. There's a lot of news, isn't it? I do need some minute or two to just take a little rest, talk about something else, not news. Right, so okay, enough for the pause. I'm ready to continue. Well, next news is, I think, also interesting one. Yesterday, I shared with you information, dear friends, about statements, crazy statements that special envoy of U.S. President Kat Kellogg was making in one of the forums that was taking place in Odessa, I believe, that was financed, organized, by the way, by Soros people, right? Which is quite interesting stuff. And Kat Kellogg, yesterday I only had one short clip of his crazy statements, but later on I did see some more, and I want to share with you, dear friends, his statements. You tell me what you make of it. Clear demonstration. I will just add that this is a clear demonstration that Trump is being misled by his inner circle. Trump is being misled big time by his inner circle. And if he believes people like Kellogg or head of their general staff in US and like that, then he knows nothing about what is going on the battlefield. I mean, Trump. Let's listen, dear friends, what Kellogg had to say. It's something extraordinary, man. Something extraordinary. Just take a look at this.
Winning, he'd be in Kyiv. If he was winning, he'd be west of the Dnieper River. If he was winning, he'd be on Odessa. If he was winning, he would have changed the government. Russia is, in fact, losing this war.
You see, this how he become a general. I mean, I have a genuine question: how this moron, literally moron, by the way, become a general in U.S. Army? Do they check intellect of the people that they make that they take in the military academies or from whichever institution this kind of generals being created? It's insane, isn't it? Did Kellogg heard anything about a battle for Moscow? Historians will argue that after Battle of Moscow, Nazi Germany was losing. After Battle of Moscow, Nazi Germany was losing and Soviet Union was winning. And there is no doubt that after Battle for Stalingrad, by the way, Germany was losing and Soviet Union was winning. Even though Red Army was far, far, far away from Berlin, right? And what about Kursk battle? Hardly anyone will argue that after Kursk battle, Red Army, Soviet Union was winning big time. And what about Operation Bagration? Hardly anyone with any knowledge about Second World War will argue that Soviet Union was winning, even though Soviet troops were 1,000 kilometers away from Berlin. So what this moron Kellogg is talking about, just because Russian troops are not yet in Kiev, we are not winning in this proxy war that West is waging against Russia? What the hell, man? This is embarrassment. Trump has to remove this psycho, man. Trump has to remove this psycho from position because this is just too embarrassing. Because people gonna think worldwide that if this moron, uneducated, illiterate moron is a special envoy of Trump, then Trump is actually even worse, probably. So something has to be done about it. This is not normal, not okay. This crazy is embarrassing US in general, not just Trump, but US in general. But let's continue what else he has to say.
Now they may make movements and say, so well, they're advancing in the Donbass region and the Donetsk, but if you consider advancing moving by meters, not miles, well then okay, that's successful. But at the cost they're having, it's enormous. And I don't think people truly appreciate it. It's a number. But the numbers they have lost, when you're talking dead and wounded, well over 1 million, they left Afghanistan after losing 18,000. We left Vietnam after losing 65,000. They've lost over 1 million dead or wounded. These numbers are World War II level numbers.
You see how he's manipulating with the numbers? He's talking about when they left Afghanistan, they lost 18,000. Now they lost killed and wounded million. First of all, I don't believe anything that this moron says. But usually, by the way, how military casualties are counted? For one dead military personnel, if you have a high-level medical service, then it's a 5-7 wounded, right? 5 to 7 wounded. So that should be kept in mind. And the majority of this wounded personnel after treatment are going back to the front line. And I know that firsthand because my relatives, by the way, were wounded and went back to the front line. So I know what am I talking about, right? So Kellogg is lying, speculating with the numbers. He's mentioning Afghanistan. Well, unfortunately, in Afghanistan, we lost about 12,000 military personnel. Some might say a little more than that. That's KAA. That's not overall number of wounded too. But when it comes to wounded military personnel, number was potentially in hundreds of thousands. But actual losses were 12,000 plus KAAs. So Kellogg is trying to mislead their people again and again and again, right? Speculating with the numbers.
When you think about it, they're stunning in the loss. And this is in their first line units that they came and tried to take Kyiv with a little over four years ago. Those first line units are gone. So they've gone through a second or a third or fourth iteration.
He's lying, by the way. My relative was in the first wave. My relative was in the first wave when special military operation began. And he is still active on the battlefield. And his unit, by the way. They are from North Ossetia, Alania, part of 58th Army. And they still continue. And by the way, North Ossetian units from North Ossetia, they did amazing, unbelievable work, by the way, and continue to do. But one should keep in mind that, and this makes proud many people in North Ossetia, that 58th Army and their North Ossetian volunteer battalions were actually on most difficult areas of 2023 summer counteroffensive of the Kyiv regime. Remember when they were attacking in the Zaporozhye direction and they'd been demolished? These enemy forces, brigade after brigade after brigade, were demolished. And 58th Army did its job there, by the way, Russian 58th Army. And these Ossetian, these battalions are also voluntary battalions from North Ossetia, Alania were there too. And they're still fighting, by the way. So what Kellogg is talking about, this moron has no freaking idea about anything. Nothing, man. Гребаные ублюдки, man, they do not know anything, really. Right? Unbelievable, man. But anyways, let's listen, because after all, this freaking, this one is advisor of Trump. And I give you another short clip, by the way, which gives you factual evidence that they are lying to Trump, and Trump is misled. Trump is misled big time.
Of wartime commanders. They're pulling tanks out of mothballs, out of museums, to put on the battle line.
You see, they are pulling out tanks from museums and that kind of nonsense. Even Kyiv regime is not saying this crazy stuff, man. Just recently, main intelligence deputy of the Budanov, by the way, main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime, was giving interview, and during that interview he said, if I remember correctly, numbers, by the way, he said that this year alone Russia will, according to their information, and they're of course going to come up with their as minimal numbers as possible to downgrade Russian capabilities, but even he was saying, by the way, that Russia will already produce some 250 brand new tanks, right? Brand new tanks, by the way, and more than 1,000 brand new armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles. And this freaking idiot, Kellogg, is saying that Russians are taking tanks and some stuff from museums, man. And in the West, people are listening to this type of elements, isn't it, dear friends? In the West, people are listening to this kind of idiots. And probably they actually think that, well, I mean, Russia gonna collapse now because they are taking rifles from the museums, artillery pieces from the museums, tanks from the museums, everything, even a uniform being taken from the museum. So, well, NATO is winning, Russia is losing. That's the psychopathic understanding gonna be created in the Western public, right, of their objective reality. While that would be complete false, right? Just imaginary reality in which I guess vast majority of Western society is already living, even without Kellogg. But nevertheless, this is insane. This is insane, and this is not all, man. This is not all. I'm gonna give you another video with very same Kellogg when he's admitting that he is misleading U.S. president. Just listen to this.
It's a great question because I was actually asked this question by the president, President Trump, in the Oval Office probably 6 weeks ago. Same question, and I responded quite forcefully. And I finally said, Mr. President, don't just listen to me. Your chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, is outside. He's out in the outer oval. Bring him in. Ask him that question. He's your principal military advisor. And he did. And Dan said the same thing. Are they winning? Nope. They're not winning. So Putin could say he's winning all.
You see? He is acknowledging that not just him, but others in the Trump's inner circle are lying to the president of US and misleading him while telling that, well, Russia is not winning. What the hell, man? And probably then, after listening to these idiots, Trump is saying, well, I mean, if not today, tomorrow, Ukrainian regime gonna be in Moscow. So, why should they de-escalate anything? I mean, God knows what thought process is in Trump's mind, but he is not informed well, man. He is just not informed. He has no freaking idea what is going on. If Kellogg and the people like him are advising him. And this is on a level of treason, I think. Kellogg, his family is vastly invested, isn't it, in Ukrainian crisis. His daughter is making tons of money, right, on Ukrainian crisis. So he has a direct interest this war to continue as long as possible. He has personal interest. His family has personal interest. So why this element is still a special envoy of Trump? I don't know. But I think we have to time at least, listen what these elements have to say, because that will give us an understanding of thought process in Washington, one way or another. Right? Anyways, let's finish on Kellogg, by the way. I cannot listen to this freak any longer. Well, let's continue with some other news. And next is, of course, Zapad 2025, by the way, that will finish today. And yesterday, Belarusian exercises in which units, militaries of CSTO and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization are participating too. And on this matter, dear friends, some Western so-called media outlets were in complete meltdown when they learned that India has sent its military unit to participate in these military exercises. Yes, India sent its unit too, as many other countries. I believe 65 Indian militaries from some special forces unit are participating, and this is not. This is more about political statement that New Delhi is making, less about military actually. After US's assault, or after Western assault on India, New Delhi is clearly makes it standard for whole world to see, right? That no one can mess around India, no one can dictate to India what to do, when, how, and so on. And sending military to participate in Zapad 2025, which is, by the way, formally speaking, military exercise to deter NATO, right? That's a quite a bigger statement, political statement to make on part of New Delhi, right? So this is interesting, this nuance. And also, dear friends, it's not just the number of countries that are participating in these exercises through their military, but also yesterday I mentioned that representatives of 23 countries, including 3 NATO members, the United States, Turkey, and Hungary, are observing these military exercises. This is a quite usual stuff, nothing extraordinary. Russian militaries also are invited, or used to be invited at least, when NATO was conducting some exercises. They've been invited in Russia when Russia was conducting exercises. But nevertheless, information that US militaries were actually presented in these exercises as observers also caused some meltdown among a number of Western so-called journalists and commentators and the public figures. I watched some of the videos of that. But well, they can drink cold water anytime to calm their nerves down, isn't it? But report is correct. U.S. military visited Russian and Belarusian exercises. Zapad 2025. Vzгляд newspaper is reporting here. I can give you some details on that. So American military personnel took part in monitoring their joint Belarusian Russian exercises, Zapad 2025. Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Khrenin personally welcomed the guests. RBK reports, and yes, I saw a video of conversation. We are very glad that you responded to our invitation. We will show you everything that interests you, everything that you want. He said among the U.S. delegation, the attaché of defense issues of the U.S. Embassy, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Patrick Shope, was also noted. According to Reuters, the appearance of American servicemen at the exercises was an unexpected event. The publication links this to a possible warming in relationships between Minsk and Washington. And yes, this can be seen as one of the explanations. But by the way, this is Russian and Belarusian exercises, right? Not just Belarusian exercises. And as I already said, it's not really anything extraordinary when during these large-scale exercises, observers from opponent side are invited to let them know that this is actually exercises and not a preparation to launch the war. That's why these advisors or observers are invited, usually, right? That's their logical explanation on that. So yes, there was some American observers that were presented during these exercises, which is quite interesting, but don't really means much, I think. It's just it was a positive gesture from Moscow and Minsk, a good gesture of the goodwill to invite her. Also a continuation of the tradition that existed for a long time. So why would not Russian or Belarusian side invite them, right? And also maybe yet another attempt from Russia and Belarus to send a message to US that, you know what, you don't have to be part of this proxy war that globalists are waging against us. Just leave this conflict. Move away. You don't have to be part of this, right? And US actually don't have to be part of this proxy war against Russia, because there is nothing for US to gain, literally nothing, right? Exactly the opposite is happening. US is losing, and losing tremendously on every direction because of its involvement in this proxy war. And I can go on and on and on into details of that, or maybe in some other program. But I mean, Washington should think about it, because they have every reason to pull out the country from this proxy war, then to agree on significant concessions before Russia, and to restart basically relationships. But seems like Trump is not on the same page yet. And why would he, or how would he, if people like Kellogg are giving him advice, or people like Marco Rubio, another warmonger, bloodthirsty freaking creature, man. So, TASS news agency is also reporting, dear friends, that EU postpones adoption of the 19th package of sanctions against Russia. There was much noise in Europe about how tough this 19th package going to be, but eventually they just postponed introduction of these sanctions. European Commission will not present the next package of anti-Russian sanctions on September 17, as expected. The publication publication of their sanctions package was postponed indefinitely. This was reported by European publication Politico, citing European diplomat and official from one of the bloc's countries. According to them, the publication of the 19th package of restrictions is no longer expected on Wednesday. Their EC did not specify new possible dates for official presentation of the new sanctions. According to Politico, the delay is due to EU's shifting focus from imposing new sanctions against Russia to pressuring Slovakia and Hungary to reduce their dependence on Russian oil. So they're going to go after Hungary and Slovakia. They know with these freaking sanctions, I mean, all they do is making world laugh, right? And they're going to try now on Hungary and Slovakia, which is unfortunate for these two countries. But they should get ready. They should get ready, because Brussels bureaucrats are coming for them, right? Globalists and globalist control regimes all over there, Europe. So no 19th package of sanctions against Russia anytime soon, it seems like. And also interesting report from Europe that EU struggles to agree on visa restrictions for Russians and the Russian diplomats. Euros TV reported tourism giants like Italy, Spain, Greece, and France, plus Hungary, opposes tightening measures, refusing to shut off their stream of cash from Russian travelers. It is of course questionable move for citizens of Russia to go to any European country that is hostile towards Russia and directly are guilty of death of thousands of Russian citizens. I can understand if there is some medical emergency or something like that, when person has to go in some of their European countries, maybe surgery is being appointed or something like that. Okay, but when people are from Russia, when people are going to European countries as a tourists, by the way, that makes me sick, man. These people, I question patriotism of these people, really. I mean, flow is very low. Flow is unbelievably low compared to like what was happening 4 or 5 years ago, right? Ask any Greek citizen, by the way, they will tell you before Greek was full with Russian tourists, right? And one of the most popular destinations, directions. But now Russian tourists are far fewer, if any. And the Greek tourism industry did suffer heavily because of that. But yet again, this happened because due to anti-Russian hysteria and the propaganda, Russian citizens were treated more and more badly in Greece. That's reports that I have seen, right, on the matter. And eventually, information spread around, and there are people just stop traveling there. I think there is very few Russian tourists in Cyprus too at this point. And same can be said about Italy, France, Spain. There is so many videos on internet, isn't it? When Russian families were harassed on the streets or in the cafes just for speaking Russian. They are doing nothing wrong to nobody. They are just either walking around or sitting, waiting for order or something, and in a restaurant or a cafe, and they've been harassed, attacked, just because they were Russians. So people are watching these videos, and vast majority of people that were planning to travel to Europe canceled their plans. But unfortunately, some still go. Unfortunately, some still go, and this is sad, man. Do they realizing that they are helping economy of their hostile countries that are directly involved in the killing of your citizens, countries that are involved in a proxy war against your country? I don't know. Only way that I would justify Russian citizen to go in any European country that is hostile to Russia is if there is some emergency situation. Otherwise, what tourists, man? Maybe Russian government has to take some measures about it. Just ban travel to European states on the legislative level. As long as there is a proxy war is going on and these Western countries are acting hostile, ban any travel to these countries, man. Because as far as I can tell, to finance enemy of your country is a treason, right? And what these tourists do, they are financing the hostile states. Am I correct, by the way? I have nothing against the people of these countries, obviously, right? But their leadership is hostile towards us, and their leadership are acting on behalf of the country, not on their own behalf, right? They are acting on behalf of Spain, Italy, Greece, France, and so on and so on. So, well, maybe Brussels will manage to force basically every country in EU to shut down tourist visas for Russian citizens, because it seems like Moscow is unwilling to ban any travel to any hostile country. I would do this, by the way, if it was up to me. I would, on legislative level, ban travel to any country that is hostile to Russia, and I will designate everyone who will go in those countries and spend even a single penny as a treasoners or traitors, because supporting financially enemy is a treason. And there are many people, by the way, on Russian territory have been arrested for financing, directly or indirectly, Kiev regime, for example, and Kiev regime's forces. And what is the difference from this Western-backed terrorist regime of Kiev, Zelensky, and the regime in anti-Russian regime in Greece or in Italy or in France? Is there any difference between them? No, they all are hostile. And all are engaged in this proxy war against Russia. So anyways, dear friends, that's my take on the situation. Maybe Brussels will manage to pressure these countries, and they will actually ban Russian tourists from entering Europe, RIA Novosti is reporting, and they might, because Brussels already implemented so many decisions that was harmful for European economies that they might go ahead and actually ban Russian tourists to travel too. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that EU fails to convince Turkey to stop buying oil from Russia, which is quite understandable. Turkey is already in deep trouble economically speaking, and if Turkey destroys relationships with Russia, trade relationships with Russia, Turkey is finished. They're not going to survive. That's how difficult the economical situation is in Turkey. So I don't think Ankara is in a position to risk to risk it all, right? And destroy relationships with Russia just because Brussels wants her. If Brussels is capable of giving Turkey compensation of, let's say, 500 billion every single year, Ankara will consider cutting ties with Russia, probably. Otherwise, they would not even think about it. RIA Novosti is reporting that US, and this is also interesting news, dear friends, demonstrates how misleading American officials are and how much they actually lie to everybody. US cannot give up enriched uranium from Russia yet, according to US official. So the United States is not yet in a position to completely stop buying enriched uranium from Russia, US Energy Secretary Chris Wright said on Monday. We have quote here, we are approaching the point, and we are not there yet, where we will no longer use enriched Russian uranium, Wright told Bloomberg on the sidelines of the IAEA annual conference in Vienna. According to American official, the White House expects to see rapid growth in uranium consumption in the United States, both from large reactors and from small modular reactors. We need large amounts of domestic uranium production and enrichment capacity, Wright stated, but yet again, they are in no position, as he admits, to say no to imports of Russian uranium. And while this is true, very same officials from Washington, by the way, are calling for other countries and actually demanding from other countries to stop buying energy sources from Russia. What is this? You tell me, dear friends. And how anyone in the White House or in US political class expects that that they're going to be respected after they are behaving this poorly. This is not even double standards, by the way. This is something really extraordinary. Level of degeneration of political class in US is just beyond any imagination. It's just factual, and the US not going to be in a position to stop importing Russian uranium probably for decades. Not just now, but maybe decades even. And also interesting news, dear friends, funny somewhat, some may argue. Let me show you a little short video, dear friends. A little short video, how Zelensky manipulates with the numbers to make sure that whatever statements he makes, whatever statements are coming from his administration, has good numbers of views and likes and stuff. They are all about, Western world in general is all about propaganda, right? All about public relations, misleading the people, creating false narratives. And I'm going to give you another factual evidence of that. Just look at this, man. Just look at this. It's insane. This is a video from their page. I believe it's a. Let me just pause for a sec. I believe this is their Facebook page, right? Yes, Facebook page of Zelensky. And look, who puts likes on his it's office president. It's a page, official page of presidential office in Kiev, and just look at the video, by the way. So someone just went in, clicked on likes to see who is liking, and just look. You notice something? No Russian names. Very few Western names. You know what this is Vietnamese, by the way. These accounts are using, probably these are fake accounts, right? And they are using, They've been created in Vietnam. So Zelensky is tremendously popular in Vietnam, by the way. Yes, Nathan Dunning is asking right now, I see a question, Vietnamese? Yes, it is. According to reports, yes, this is a Vietnamese bot farms that were paid, I guess, by Zelensky's office through some ways, not directly, of course, but through some means, so that they are creating these false numbers on his accounts. In this particular case, Facebook, but I guess very same is done on other accounts too. And you tell me, dear friends, how you can trust any Western account when you see some numbers there. That's the way they do, man. My videos maybe have just, I don't know, 1,500 views, 2,000 views, sometimes 3,000, 4,000 or 5,000. But these are views, by the way. These are members of our community that watch the video and like the video, actually, and leave the comment where these are all real. And I work hard, by the way, to reach all of you, right? And what is that you see on your screen there from this Zelensky's office? What is that? And I'm quite sure, by the way, very same is happening on YouTube and on Rumble and on Instagram and X and what other social platforms are out there. Everywhere. That's the way they boost the numbers, by the way, creating false narrative, because they are all about false narratives, you know, not about reality, not about realism, but false narratives. Unbelievable, man. So yes, either Zelensky is more popular in Vietnam than any Vietnamese, or something dodgy is going on there. It's insane, man, insane. Anyways, let's continue, dear friends. I saw this video and I just wanted to share it with you because it's you know, it's interesting, at least, right? It gives us additional confirmation of what we already know, that these Western accounts that are pushing their globalist propaganda or whatever are all fake. All numbers are fake. None of them can be trusted, by the way, absolutely. Few more news, dear friends. As I already said in the beginning of this video, UN Commission recognized Israeli actions in Gaza as genocide. And is there any need to go through details again? Let me once again go through details, because more members of our community joined the stream, dear friends. Maybe they did not watch the beginning. So I will repeat, if I may, that UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory has recognized Israeli actions in Gaza as genocide. The commission found that the Israeli authorities have partially destroyed their reproductive capacity of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip as a group, including by imposing measures aimed at preventing birth, and have deliberately created the living conditions calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the Palestinians as a group, which are the core acts of genocide in the Rome Statute and the Convention on the Prevention of the Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. It's this report said, and there is some key points in Commission's statement. Israel continues to commit genocide in the Gaza Strip. Its actions against the population are the most merciless since 1948. The country's military and political leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, encouraged it. Tel Aviv is responsible for failing to prevent the genocide against the enclave's inhabitants. Countries are obliged to use all instruments to stop the IDF's actions in Gaza and to occupied territories. At the same time, Israeli Foreign Ministry, of course, rejected the UN report, as they always do, reject her without any attempt even to talk factual, because they cannot talk factual. Factually, they are committing genocide. So all they do is just reject straight away any statements. So Israeli foreign minister rejected the UN report, saying that it was based on Hamas lies. This propaganda of Israeli fascists are not working, by the way. It's just not working. They're not gonna blackmail nobody while accusing them repeating Hamas lies. It's not working. This is not Hamas lies. No one gives a damn about Hamas among experts that participated in this in the work of this international independent commission. The ministry also called for the dissolution of the international commission. So no response, basically, no adequate response from Israeli side, as it is expected, right? I don't know what kind of effect this document will have. Maybe some countries worldwide after this will begin taking some actual steps to use whatever leverage they might have over Israeli regime to force them to stop this mass killing and the genocide of the Palestinian people. But we will see. We will see. Unfortunately, I'm a bit skeptic that the Israeli side will even consider to stop genociding the Palestinians. Meanwhile, as I reported yesterday, Netanyahu himself continues to justify attack on Qatar, during the which Israeli Air Force tried to kill Hamas negotiators that went to negotiating place to basically discuss latest initiative of Trump. And many experts on internet, especially on alternative media, by the way, argued that Trump once again was engaged in deception operation to lure in, to trap basically Hamas officials, negotiators, and probably if Israeli strike was 100% successful in the killing of negotiators, probably Trump will brag about that. Well, he assist Israel to take out Hamas leaders, but because this strike failed and the leadership of this negotiating team of Hamas survived, Trump straight away made a statement that he had no knowledge of this attack, and Netanyahu on several occasions took full responsibility on attack. No hints that Trump was informed, although no one believed it. No one actually believed it, because no one believes that Israel can launch a large-scale air assault on Qatar, U.S., formerly at least U.S. ally, without informing U.S. about it, right? No one believed in this attempt of Washington or Trump and Netanyahu to paint another false narrative there that Trump didn't know nothing. And well, we have more and more reports that Trump actually knew. And I think due to this reckless actions from Trump and Netanyahu, I think U.S. relationships with the Gulf states gonna begin deteriorating very fast and very dramatically. It's just a matter of time, but it's just a matter of time. So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the U.S. President Donald Trump on September 9th about plans to strike leaders of the Palestinian Hamas movement in Qatar. The Axios portal reported, citing Israeli officials. According to publication, Netanyahu informed the White House at a fairly late stage, but still early enough for a strike to be called off. So if Trump wanted to, he could tell Netanyahu that, no, you're not going to strike Qatar, this is our ally. But he did not. And by the way, I think officials from Israel are lying to Axios, because I think Trump was engaged in this operation from the beginning. He did not learn about it a little earlier than strike actually happened. No, he was most likely engaged in this terrorist attack that Israel committed on Qatar, by the way, from the beginning, right? As he was engaged in preparations of the attacks on Iran, while being engaged in formal negotiations with the Iranian side. So that's how it is, I guess. And no matter now what Washington will say or Tel Aviv, and I don't recognize Jerusalem to be capital of Israel, by the way. Jerusalem is not capital of Israel. Tel Aviv is a capital of Israel, right? Let's be clear on that too. And so yes, no matter what Tel Aviv or Washington gonna say, I think U.S. lost with this strike on Qatar. U.S. actually lost Middle East. They just don't know this, right? Because now, after Qatar being struck, Saudi Arabian leadership gonna think, you know what? They just don't give a damn, man, about anything, right? They might kill us all at any given point in time. So probably we should start thinking about some stuff here, and they're gonna think about some stuff, right? They're gonna diversify their investments, their assets, their capital. They're gonna move some of their funds from Western financial and banking system to, emerging to the financial and the banking system, whatever is created already of the multipolar world, BRICS countries, Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries, right? And at some point, these countries in the Gulf gonna say to US, you know what? We don't take no more orders from you. That's it. They're gonna tell this to you, Washington and London. This day is going to come, man. Not today, not tomorrow, not day after, but this day is going to come. US definitely pissed all these elites that are ruling these kingdoms there, right? Tremendously rich kingdoms in Gulf, Persian Gulf. And by the way, we have indicators already that they are indeed very much pissed on Israel and US. And for example, in Qatar, by the way, there was a summit that was going on of Arab and Islamic countries, and they have called for coordinated efforts to suspend Israel's membership into UN, according to RIA Novosti. So during the event, the countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Arab League decided to coordinate efforts aimed at freezing Israel's membership in the UN, according to the final document approved by the summit participants. Other points of the declaration: the summit participants condemned any attempts by Israel to resettle the Palestinian people from the territories occupied by Tel Aviv since 1967 under any pretext. Their OIC and Arab League countries called on the international community and the UN Security Council to fulfill their obligations to end Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories and to set a clear time frame for this. The Arab Islamic plan for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip must be implemented, and the reconstruction must be begun as soon as possible. The summit participants called on international donors to provide their necessary support in this process. The OIC and the Arab League countries rejected Israel's attempts to justify the attack on Qatari territory under the pretext of prosecuting the leadership of the Palestinian Hamas movement. They also spoke out against Tel Aviv's repeated threats about the possibility of another attack on their emirate, United Arab Emirates, by the way. That's what they're going to do. They're going to attack Emirate, or they call Qatar Emirate too. Okay, anyways, the summit participants stressed the importance of respecting international law and the UN resolution as a key basis for achieving peace and security. Emergency summit of Arab Islamic leaders was held in Doha yesterday in the capital of Qatar. The heads of the states met to develop a unified position on a response to Israel's strike on Qatar. So It's just the statements, by the way, for now, of course. It's just the statements because, as I said many times before, these royal families of the Gulf states that are on the leading position when it comes to Islamic world, in the region at least, or Muslim world in the region, well, they are too dependent on the West, right? Most of their assets are in the West. So they are kind of hostages of the West. But little by little, after the strike on Qatar, I guess all the red lines were actually crossed, and little by little, they're gonna diversify their assets. They're gonna move whatever they can into financial and the banking system of the BRICS member states, Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states, pull out from the West, basically, right? And at some point, when they will feel comfortable that at least most of their assets they can save, then they will probably be in a position to take some action and actually protect the region, right, from this fascist entity that Israel is, modern Israel, by the way. But right now, they're not going to go beyond their statements, even strong statements. It is what it is. They are risking, due to lack of action, to face the rebellion in their countries, because people are not happy. People are not happy that governments are doing nothing to either save Palestinians or even to protect their own sovereignty. I mean, what Qatar did, by the way, Qatari capital was attacked. And what they did? Nothing. Correct? And I guess people of Qatar, they are thinking, I mean, what the hell, man? We just been attacked and we just gonna sit around and pretend that nothing has happened, or we just gonna make some couple of statements here and there, and that's about it. So why would not they attack us again tomorrow or day after or in a weeks from now? What is going to stop them if we have no deterrent in place? And this is legit questions, isn't it? That Qatari people and people also in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other Gulf states gonna have. Anyways, dear friends, I already reported yesterday that Iran and Egypt basically are actively working on idea to promote idea in the Muslim world to come up with a collective collective security forces. For example, as Qatar hosts Arab Summit for collective action on Israel, Egypt renews calls for United Arab Military Alliance. And name of the alliance can be changed if Iran is going to be part of it, because Iran is not Arab country, right? And the Iranians are not Semites, by the way. Arab people are Semites, and that's why this terminology of anti-Semite is also another hijacked term by Israeli fascists when they are calling everybody anti-Semites, including Arabs, by the way, that are Semites. So how Arabs that are Semites are anti-Semites? It's it's just mess, man. What Western propaganda and Israeli propaganda does to their mindsets of the people, right? But anyways, whatever they're gonna call their military alliance, one day they will probably manage to reach an agreement, because what else they can do to protect themselves, man? If this entity is not stopped by world community, then it will continue to demolish country after country after country after country in the region and killing everybody, right? So only way these regional countries will have to protect themselves is to get together, because Israel is much more capable than any of them alone. This is also true, right? And maybe Israel is much more powerful than even all of these countries together because of the nuclear weapons that Israel has. But wait a little, a year or two, and I guess they're going to be another nuclear powerhouse in the Middle East, Iran. And that will change everything. Let's see. Meanwhile, dear friends, interestingly, Spain has cancelled multiple defense deals with Israel, according to Israeli Haaretz outlet. 820 million Elbit artillery contract was scrapped. That follows $278 million Spike missile deal cancellation with Rafael, Israeli company. So after strong statements of Israeli Prime Minister condemning criminal actions of the Israeli regime and the IDF, well, it seems like Madrid is going ahead with some actual steps. And if true, if they are canceling these contracts that are over $1 billion, by the way, so it's significant, right? If Madrid is actually going ahead with canceling these contracts, then well done. What can I say? What can I say? Right? They should did it a long time ago when Israel began genociding people. But at least they are taking some steps now, and that means Israel gonna be less deadly to the people than with these weapons. Although, of course, unfortunately, even without supplies of weapons from Spain, Israel has enough from US and other NATO member states to continue to this genocide there for years, if necessary, if not stopped, basically. Also interesting news that I reported on my Telegram and Twitter X page this morning, that Iran, together with China, Russia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Belarus, presented a draft resolution banning attacks on nuclear facilities. This was reported by the representative of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Ismail Baghai. This is happening in this resolution should be adopted by UN and by IAEA too, if there is no such a resolution already. But I think non-proliferation treaties already provides all the necessary security guarantees, or supposed to provide all the necessary security guarantees for all civilian nuclear facilities all over the world. But unfortunately, you see, these resolutions, these agreements, treaties, they just don't work when it comes to Israel or US or any other country from the collective West. They just don't give a damn about any agreement that they sign up for. And they are demonstrating this time after time after time. So therefore, okay, idea is understandable that nuclear facilities have to be untouchable. But yet again, with whom you are sign up agreement? With the US that has no care about any agreements whatsoever. What is the point? That's the question. But idea is understandable, of course. I mean, nuclear facilities should be safe. But tell this to Israeli regime and a US regime. This neoliberal fascist regime that is being established in US for quite a long time now. And still in power, by the way. Some might say, well, now it's a Trump in office, he's not a neolib. No, man, system is still there. And their decision-making process is still in the hands of very same people that it was during the Biden's administration. You all know that presidents come and go, but US policies never really change much. Right? It's all a theater that being played for the public in US. Democrats, Republicans, and this and that. And in reality, no matter who is the president, Democrat, Republican, maybe one day they will have a green president or someone else, I don't know. But nothing will change. Libertarian, why not? One day they might have formally libertarian president, but policies of the US, until this system is in place still, this corrupt system is in place, then nothing will change in general. Just talking heads, right? And as I reported yesterday, also, dear friends, Donald Trump refused to reject any claims that U.S. is planning to attack Venezuela. he did not confirm, did not reject such claims, which is something to keep in mind, because US, for a reason, of course, building this strike group off coast of Venezuela that you see on your screen right now. A lot of warships, a lot of planes being deployed, missile capable planes, right, and the warships. But meanwhile, as Pentagon prepares assault on Venezuela, U.S. militaries are hunting down, as they call, narco cartel vessels, and they destroy another one. They destroy another vessel that allegedly left from Venezuela, and I believe I have a video of that. It's up to you, of course, dear friends, if you believe in this claim or not. But I believe I had a video. Maybe I deleted. I'm going to restore now. Okay. Just a sec, dear friends. I actually deleted the video, so I had to restore it, and it's here, I guess. So yes, another boat was destroyed. I mean, you can see here. It's hard to tell what is going on the boat. You can see few people at least, and then strike and fireball, and that's it. Everyone on the board is killed. Boat itself is engulfed in fire. Yet again, no actual evidences being provided that this boat was carrying either drugs or anything illegal, right? Just statements from Pentagon, just a statement from Trump himself that he authorized yet another attack on a vessel. And question is, why don't you just send a helicopter, for example, with their special forces on it and board this vessel? Why don't you send a Coast Guard to check this vessel? Why you are blowing up and killing people? These are not freaking combatants, right? Even if they are members of the drug cartels or whatever, or some other criminal gang, where is the due process? Where is the due process, man? This is not, you are not in a war, right? So therefore, these are not the combatants that you just can take out on the spot. Even if you have good enough indicators that these are boats that carrying some drugs or some illegal stuff, go arrest them, do some due process, and act accordingly, for God's sake. Why you are destroying and killing everybody on the board when whole world now gonna ask question, how you know these people were guilty of anything? Where is the due process? It's insane, by the way, and this is done by U.S. country that loves to lecture others, isn't it, about law and order? I mean, Western world in general loves to lecture everybody about law and order, and look what they do, man. They're killing people without any evidences, without any due process, and it's kind of like, like it's nothing. They are acting that way.
It's like nothing special.
Oh, Alisa, thank you.
You're welcome.
You see, AI is quite good in English too, isn't it? Right?
I'm glad you think so. I'm always here to help.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
Yeah. So, and this is Alisa, by the way. She a couple of times intervened during my streams. I don't know what triggers her to react on, maybe certain words that she finds to sound like her, like the name of the AI, Alisa. I don't know. Anya just turned off the AI. Otherwise, she would continue to talk, man. So okay, dear friends, that's the reporter there. Share your take, what you think in the chat, in the comment sections. But I don't think this is normal, man. I really don't. I'm in absolute support of fight against all sorts of criminal organizations. Absolutely, absolutely. But let's do it adequately, right? Let's do it adequately. That's all I'm saying, and I guess that's everybody is saying, right? Just let's do it based on law and order, not like going around and killing everybody based on some assumptions that, well, those people probably were criminals and carrying some illegal weapons. And what? Even if you are correct, then do some, arrest them, bring some evidences, go to court, make your case, and do some freaking due process. And let the judges or jury decide, right? Why you are killing people this way? It's not okay. But anyways, man, world is going down in this spiral in some very freaking dark place, isn't it? Unfortunately. And it is Western world that is pushing all of us, whole world, to that direction, I think. Few more news, dear friends. Well, Marco Rubio was interviewed by one of their U.S. media outlets, and he went to say that U.S. not recognizes Maduro as a legit president of Venezuela. He also went to say that some 50 countries worldwide also don't recognize him as to be legit. Is if it's up to 50 or 100 countries to decide who is legit or not. Last time I checked, it was up to people of Venezuela to decide who they want to be in a position of power, right? So if it's Maduro, then it's Maduro. It's none of my business, right? And none of the business of these 50 countries that are collective West, basically. And collective West is only just like 20% of the humanity. So, there is some issue there, isn't it? It's not up to US or any other country in this world to decide who is the legit president in Venezuela. There was elections, by the way, right? Elections, and people voted for this guy that I don't actually like, man. I think Maduro does very poor job. But if Venezuela people want that guy to be the president, then who am I to judge, man? Right? And yet again, US is about to go in, right, in Venezuela. And if people of this country, by the way, if people of this country are going to fight for their independence, for independence of Venezuela, then US will end up in a massive trap. US will end up in a trap, by the way. They might eliminate Maduro's regime in a single strike. They have capabilities of that. But if Venezuelan people don't want to be recolonized by US or anybody, then they will give a fight, and I don't think US is in a position to conquer the people of Venezuela. No, they're going to lose that battle. Yet again, if people will fight, and also one more point. Of course, the whole this story around Venezuela is no way about drugs. We all understand that it's about oil. It's about oil, and unfortunately, this regime in US, by the way, or regime representatives never been challenged. They are always on the TV, right? I don't know when they do actual work, but on TV, for TV, they always find the time, right? They're always giving some interviews, talking a lot, and they've been never challenged by actual journalists because of why? Because there is no actual journalist in US MSM. or in the Western MSM in general. Otherwise, we all know this is all about oil. This is all about oil, by the way. It has nothing to do with the freaking drugs, because our main force in drug trafficking, human trafficking, weapon trafficking is CIA. It's a well-established fact. It's not an opinion, it's a well-established fact, by the way, right? That CIA is a main force in all these illegal activities. And this is known for decades. It's nothing new, by the way. Remember Iran-Contras, for example? Do I have to say about Afghanistan and what happened with opium exports from Afghanistan during the US occupation? So it's, And dear friends, I'm gonna end this new segment with some quite interesting short video. You may not believe this, but in New York, on the Times Square, there was advertising. I don't know, this was a trolling of some group or something, but there was actually advertising that was allowed of Intervision, a Russian analog of Eurovision, right? And let me show you this video. That's Times Square, and you see on the screens here, Intervision, International Music Festival in Russia. 23 countries are participating, by the way, and all over the world. You can see flags of these countries. Final will be on Saturday, this Saturday in Moscow. Final of this festival. Intervision. This is first time, I believe, Intervision was called. And well, let's wish good luck to this new project. I mean, why not? If this project, and hopefully this project would not be politicized, then great. Let the people from all over the world listen to some original music from different countries, man. Without any ideology in this music, right? Any sickening ideology, at least. If it's about patriotism and something that we all respect, right? Family values and traditions and so on, then great. Let's learn more about each other, right? But we don't need no freaking sickening ideology that was propagandized by Eurovision, isn't it? I mean, if you have seen at least some parts of Eurovisions, by the way, lately, I mean, last 10, 15 years, it's a sickening stuff, man, that's happening there. It's like opening of the Olympic. You see what happened in France? That's the stuff that is going on with the Eurovision, by the way. It's a sickening gathering of some psychos, I think, and that's about it, right? And I don't mean athletes, by the way. I mean organizers. It's an attempt of indoctrinate more and more people in all sorts of sickening ideas that globalists are pushing, or neolibs, right? And well, I think Eurovision might actually be a great success story if it will be completely free of all that crazy stuff that you see on any event now in the West. Any event, you take any event, it's gonna be some freaking like this, what they call them, transgender, some stuff, woman dressed as a man dressed as a woman with freaking bird, how you say it, some LGBTQ parade with naked people running around, and that kind of tashnatvorное говно, right? That's what that is. And we don't need that. We don't need that. So we need something for normal people, and that's gonna be Intervision. I don't watch TV, by the way, but maybe I take my time to watch this program on Saturday finals. Let's see. So okay. John Dutchman is saying, beer plus the bird. Beard. Yes, thank you, thank you. I do struggle with certain words, by the way, to pronounce properly, for sure. But yes, I want to end a video on that term. On Times Square, advertising of this intervision, good, why not? And dear friends, I guess there was no super chat during the stream or any donation through any of the platforms to highlight before I join community chat. So let me join conversation now with you, direct conversation in the chat. As always, I will be focused on capital Qs, dear friends, or capital letters. Let's take like 5-10 minutes or maybe a little more, and then I will end the live stream. After stream, dear friends, I will make probably several short videos from this live stream. If you come across any of them, and have a time, please like the video, and please like this video, this live stream. That might help too. So yes, I'm gonna restart publishing short clips so that maybe members of our community that have no time to watch whole update will pick these short clips. Sir is commenting, surely Putin cannot sit back. If US gets Orinoco oil, it can reduce price and half Russian oil revenues. Russia must send a fleet to Ukraine and increase supply of Yacht anti-ship missiles. Even if US will establish control over the oil fields of Venezuela right now, to actually significantly increase production of oil there, I mean, it's gonna take years of investments. Due to Western sanctions, due to US sanctions, infrastructure in Venezuela is in deep trouble, right? And then on top of that, Venezuelan oil is a heavy oil, isn't it? And it's a high quality oil for sure, but it's extremely expensive it's very deep in the ground, right? Kilometers deep in the ground, and it's objectively more expensive than, let's say, oil from Middle East, for example, or Russian oil. Although Russian oil is also in some cases is a heavy oil from deep underground, right? So I can understand what you mean, that West might use Venezuela to drop the prices on oil, but it will take so many years, by the way, that to actually influence their energy prices. And it will destroy U.S. energy sector too, by the way. You should keep in mind that U.S. is one of the biggest oil exporters, right? Or oil producers, let's say. Most of the U.S. oil stays in U.S., but for last several years, last decade, let's say, U.S. first time, I guess, reached a position when they are no longer dependent on imported oil. They have their own, right? And what do you think will happen with energy companies in U.S. if your scenario will become true, and after colonizing Venezuela, U.S. will flood the market with oil and drop the prices in half, for example? All the U.S. oil companies will go bust, right? So it's easy to say, but very difficult to do, actually, for political and for technical and economical reasons. So I don't think Russia should send their fleet there. But if some independent, and we don't know what kind of talks are behind the closed doors between Moscow and Washington, maybe quietly Washington has agreed with Moscow to pull out of this proxy war against Russia and to pay hefty compensations for all the bad that was done as a result of US's involvement in this proxy war. And in return, Moscow might offer not to seek revenge on US on a state level. This may be done. This kind of stuff is happening, by the way, between the countries, right? Historically speaking, nothing extraordinary there. So we don't know what is going on in the relationship between Moscow and Washington behind the scenes, but there is always private groups, isn't it? Private groups that will use any opportunity to seek revenge on US for everything that US done against Russia and Russian people. And those groups probably are already, some of them, in Venezuela. They are transporting weapons, munition, preparing whatever is necessary to treat their US militaries with heavy hand, right? So yes, that's how it's going to be. I don't think Russia will openly use opportunity to revenge on US, and I don't think Russia will use Venezuela as a proxy, and I don't think Russia will sacrifice people of Venezuela as Americans do with the Ukrainians or Europeans do with Ukrainians, but some private groups here in Russia will use any opportunity. I have no doubts about it, by the way. Some private groups, influential, capable groups, will use any opportunity to seek revenge for their comrades, for lives of their comrades against the US and against all the other NATO member states that were and still are engaged in this proxy war against Russia. So whenever US gonna go, or any European country, whenever they're gonna get engaged militarily, they will always knew that there are gonna be some Russians or some people that are connected with Russians or some weapons that come from Russians that are gonna kill them. And this is gonna be a reality for decades and decades to come. That's how it is, man. That's what Western elites did with this proxy war against Russia. And who can blame these groups, by the way, hypothetical groups that I'm talking about that most likely exist? Who can blame them for seeking revenge for their comrades, right, that lost lives due to US involvement in this war? Russia was not in war with US, so why US was engaged in this proxy war, right? Those people have every right to retaliate. So it is what it is. Same goes for UK or France or Germany or Italy or Batik Chihua, who was bad, for example. SS Kubi is commenting, our media in the West now looks kind of like media in the USSR was years ago, obsessed with maintaining lies and narrative control. I'm telling you, SS Kubi, I mean, you might agree or disagree with me, but I think EU, for example, is a worst possible parody on the USSR. Because in USSR, there was some good too, right? In EU, there is nothing good, but everything bad that was in USSR. On steroids also, right? So I can understand your point, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think Western media, the so-called media, even can be called the media, because when they say true, do they ever say true? I mean, fully true, by the way. Not just today is 16th of September. Okay, that's obviously true. Today is 16th of September. But beyond that, do they actually tell the true stories and share the true information with the public ever? I don't know. I don't think so. Otherwise, people would not be so indoctrinated in Russia hate and Russophobia and all the negativity in the West, right? Majority, I'm talking about. The news segment lasted for 2 hours, man. I have to do something about it. It's just too long, isn't it? Maybe I should make like 2 live streams, maybe just prepare the program, then do live stream with half of the news, and then after hour or two, just made another one with the rest of the news, and there's some additional news that might be reported in that time frame. And so each live stream can be about an hour long that way. Should I do something like that? I don't know, man. But 2 hours, man, I can imagine members of our community, by the way, want to watch video. They open my page, they see, wow, like 2 hour video. I mean, probably they are scared, no. I just don't have time for this. 2 hours, it's too long, man. Some might do. I mean, if you are doing something and you just turn on the video, and that's what I do usually. I don't actually watch, I listen. Right? I'm doing something, and there is always some video on, by the way, right? From some of the channels from alternative media. In that case, yes, I don't really care. Video is 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever. It does not bother me. But there could be, other cases too, right? So I need to deal with these short videos. Probably that's the way to go. Short videos. And I'm scrolling, dear friends, now looking for capital Qs. Hello again, dear friends. Hello everyone. Thank you very much for your attention, for your time. And I'm quite sure, dear friends, I did miss some of your questions or the comments that you want to highlight. I'm just, I did show you a couple of times, isn't it, how it looks when I'm going through chat. I'm just scrolling, excuse me. And if I spot capital Q, react on it. I just spot one and there missed it. Where was it? I see this comment with the capital letters. I'm not gonna miss this one. It's easy to spot. Miss Me With It is commenting. They pick Maduro because their other candidate is their US-backed candidate. That's why. You mean this other one, Guaido, isn't it? Guaido. They already recognized Guaido to be president of Venezuela a couple of years ago, isn't it? But it didn't work, really. Collective West countries, majority, did recognize Guaido. But where is he now? He is in US somewhere, allegedly is working in some university or something. What he gonna teach to students, man? What he gonna teach students? I don't know. Dear friends, just now was Miss Me With It gifted her premium subscription to my Rumble channel, and thank you very much, Miss Me With It. That's coincidence. I was just reacting on your comment, isn't it? Let me highlight, dear friends. Come on, yeah, that works. So thank you very much, Miss Me With It, for gifting This is $5 donation, basically. That's what it is, because premium subscription is about $5, isn't it, on Rumble. So, Miss Miwidit, thank you very much for your attention and support. Thank you. And yes, that's next comment was about Guaido, exactly. I just spotted. So yes, Guaido, Guaido 2.0. Yeah, there was during the recent elections there was also attempt, isn't it, to do some revolution kind of stuff, regime change, and put this another candidate in power. It did not work. It just did not work, isn't it? So that's quite interesting too. Todd Robinson, who was the ambassador of Guatemala, now he's moved into drug enforcement. Is their biggest human trafficker in South America. Thank you very much for comment, Miss Miwi Dieter. These are, obviously there are many topics that I'm not really that familiar, including this personality, Todd Robinson. So thank you very much for sharing. That's why I said, man, every day I learn something new from our community. So thank you very much. And you just confirmed, isn't it? Your comment is also confirming, at least indirectly, that all their main forces when it comes to human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking are based in US. It's a CIA and CIA assets, basically, of groups or the individuals that are affiliated with it. It's just, it is what it is. CIA, and by the way, we should keep in mind that CIA, State Department, and the Pentagon is basically this triad is kind of one of the same. They are just divided to serve in different directions, but they are heavily connected, isn't it? And so this is it, dear friends, for now then. Thank you very much for your time, dear friends, for your attention. Thank you very much, Miss Mividit, for your donation. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and take care. Bye for now.